1 minute remaining in separate practice. Second practice is now over.
Hello and welcome to the U18 finals of the U18 Optimist Provincials from Sylvan Lake. Today we have two great matchups on hand. For the men, we have 6-1 Team Hiebert against undefeated Team Hlushak. And on the women's side, we have 5-2 Team Whitbread against undefeated 7-0 Team Skiffert. Our focus sheet today will be the men's final between Team Hiebert, coming from the Sherwood Park Curling Club in Sherwood Park in Edmonton, and Team Hlushak from the Crestwood Curling Club in Edmonton. On the women's side, both teams come from the Lacombe Curling Club, so it'll be an all Lacombe matchup on the women's U18 final. As we get underway here today, just a huge thank you to everyone involved in this provincials run here in Sylvan Lake. It has been run perfectly and beautifully. The ice has been incredible. The volunteers, umpires, and fans have all showed out really well this week. The accommodations, everything have been wonderful. So just once again, just a huge thank you to all the organizers, umpires, fans, players, and everyone involved in making this run as smoothly as it has. Early on in this game, you see Team Hiebert put a little bit of pressure, or want to put a little bit of pressure on Team Hlushak here early by throwing up a center guard, stating that they're ready to get right at it and indicating that this will be a very well played, very aggressive game from both teams.
That call from Jackson to put up the center guard indicates his comfort in this game, as he's been here twice before. In 2018 he was the runner-up, and just last year he won the U18 Provincials, so he knows how the pressure is going to feel, and he knew what he was expecting, and he knew how he wanted to play this game starting out. So, and that's how he did it. He started with the center guard, and he wants to put the pressure on the other team early.
Team Hlushak with a little bit of an overthrow there as it goes through. Speaking about pressure and experience, you've been in this game a few times yourself, and even won it a couple times.
Yes, I have played in this game, in the U18 Championships twice, winning it twice, but there's a lot of pressure. It's about which team can handle that pressure most. In the 2 years that I played it, and by the end of the game, I was shaking and like heart racing. It's a lot to do, and if you can't handle that, it does show in your performance. So it's going to be about which of these teams can handle that and can even use that to their advantage and play better.
For someone who maybe has not played in the provincial final before, what would this feel like, and how could it be a little different from a normal, regular curling game?
It depends on how you prep. Some people I know can just play a game like this with it doesn't feel different to them at all, but I know that for me, it was my heart, the whole game was in my throat. Like, I was shaking. Anytime there was an important shot, I knew I was stressed, but it's just there's so much more there to think about, and you kind of just know what this all means to you. Just it's all about because this is the be all end all for some of these guys. They last year U18s or last event of the year, anyways. So just it matters a lot to keep their seasons going.
With Alberta, their new rules were incorporated this year where the two teams that would represent Alberta at the U18 Nationals in Ontario were the two teams in the finals. So all 4 teams on the ice right now have clinched their spot to the Nationals in Ontario in approximately a month. Do you think that having clinched a national spot already, do you think the pressure on all the players may be a little less so versus if, for example, only one team could go, or if there's a different format for this province where it comes to national spots?
I do think it's a little less pressure, but there's a certain amount of pride in being able to be the team one out of your province. You know, everyone wants to be the best, and being able to go is great, but I do think that it matters to everyone out there to be that team, to be the guys, the girls. Like you want to be the one.
Yeah, I agree. It is nice to be the team that you can say, I won my province. Going to national is very fun, but when you can wear your province's colors and say you won the provincial championship, that always feels like a great thing to you and always have a fun thing you can always tell people later on in life.
And I know that matters to every one of them out there. It's very important to them. We have multiple actual provincial winners this year on the ice right now. And on the men's side, Jackson Hiebert, Nate Burton, Evan Henniger, and Lucas Sawiak have all been to a nationals. And Lucas even won the U18 Nationals last year as the second for Team Davies. So he knows a thing or two about pressure games.
There's no lack of experience on these two sheets because even on the women's side as well, Team de Skiffert went to nationals as well.
Yes, they did.
As Team 2, and even the skip of Ali Whitbread, the skip of Team Whitbread, was a part of that de Skiffert team who went to nationals and had a very successful showing as well. So there's no lack of experience on this ice right now, even though it is a provincial final. So everyone has been in the game like this before, so it shouldn't be new for anyone here. A little bit of a miscue there for Team Hiebert as they are a little tight and rack on the guard. Allows Hlushak to hit that one out in the wings and sit 3 early in this first end. In a game like this with two very good teams who had a very good week, what do you think the difference maker in a game like this could be?
Definitely one shot. One is going to be pressure, but I think a second difference maker would be how the teams communicate. If one team breaks down early and can't communicate times or pass or just keep themselves cool in this moment, that'll definitely affect them. And if you can't control it, if you can't keep yourself communicating with your teammates, it will definitely be a difference maker in this game.
I totally agree. As much as this just is a provincial final, you do want to play it like every other game. Obviously, it's easy to say that when you're up here, but on the ice, you can definitely feel it's a little different than a regular curling match. It's a little bit of a tight throw there from Evan Henniger. But yeah, the pressure here, having played in this game once before, people do say it's just another regular curling game, but in your head, it never is. Yeah, you can always say, "Oh, it's just another game. I'll just go out there and play like I always do." But the pressure of the provincial final is always in the back of your head. No matter what people say or what people do, it'll always be there.
Just the knowledge of what this means to them, it'll add pressure. I know that, and it is alleviated by the two teams, as we've said, but it just means it's about pride. I think for them, everyone wants to be the best, and so that's what they're playing for here. And that rock just hangs on to the back, setting up nice for it is second shot though, I believe. So there's a chance here for Hiebert to hit and roll, sit first and third, maybe make the double. But actually, both teams on the ice or on the men's sheet have lefties, which is kind of interesting actually, because I don't think we played too many lefties this year.
Yeah, lefty curlers seem to be kind of a rarity, and there's one on each team. Third for Team Hiebert, Evan Henniger is left-handed, as well as
Noah Mason-Wood and Parker Harris are both lefties as well.
Oh, yeah, the entire front end for Team Hlushak is left-handed as well.
And he makes the
very nice shot there from the left-hander. Removes the back red and rolls right in front of their red to sit shot. One for sure, maybe two. Early on, you're seeing both teams kind of sharp with these really good hit and rolls, really good shots. Obviously, getting used to the ice, you may see a few little overthrows or underthrows, but as the game progresses, I think the shot making will tighten up a lot and will come down to one mistake could be a very
and even
costly.
They've been playing on this ice for a full week now, so both teams probably do know the ice really well. And so even early game, they're going to be playing pretty aggressive, it looks like.
It's a little tight there on the throw from Team Hlushak and gives Team Hiebert the opportunity to hit and roll split rings and set up a very good opportunity to force here. Having played in this game multiple times, what do you think? Do you think you feel more stressed while throwing the rock or actually as a sweeper?
It was as a sweeper, actually. I found that I could control my heart and stuff for about the 3-4 seconds you're sliding, but I know that, especially my coaches were telling me beforehand, that it's a lot harder to control your, especially with rocks and sweeping draws. It's really hard to say this rock is light because you always want to be involved in a sweep, and so you'll sweep out of the hand thinking maybe this is light, and then you'll get halfway down and you're like, wait a minute. And I know that especially late in the game that really affected me, but just you have to know what might happen, and so I'm sure both coaches have been talking with their teams about how to control them, how to control their heart rates, and how to make sure that they know what they're going to do. With the experience of those coaches, I'm sure they have.
Team Hiebert's coach, Les Sonnenberg, being married to Renee Sonnenberg, knows a lot about pressure with Renee's resume as a curling coach and player, one of the great curling coaches in the world. And what she does for curling Canada is quite incredible. So I think Les Sonnenberg has the experience that could prove crucial for players like the younger players on the team, such as Nate and Jackson, who have both played in the game before, but even then the pressure's still always there. So being able to keep everyone composed and focused up for a game like this is really crucial.
Les was actually Jackson's coach the first time he went to a national championship. So the two of them definitely have some chemistry there. And that was a great throw from Peter Hlushak. Beautiful to make the double a sit too.
Does leave a double right back here for Jackson Hiebert. And if he makes it, it appears this end will be heading for a blank end. And early on, with all the shots were being made, you wouldn't have thought it might be a blank end, but with a shot here, it's definitely a possibility of blank end here.
Just gotta watch this path being further outside than you normally hit. It might run a little bit straight on them. That's another thing. You gotta, with the pressure, sometimes you might neglect your ice reading and paying attention to every shot, but that's super important here.
Update on the women's side, they're a blank end in the first. Very good shot there from Jackson Hiebert as he was able to make the double.
Sets up the blank end.
Women's sheet on next door between Whitbread and Diskiffert. First end ends up a blank as Diskiffert maintains hammer.
Even with the guards set up from the start of this end, it did end up being a blank, so both teams are looking like they're really ready to hit. It's going to be who wants to throw the draws more to set up a bit more of a pressure-filled rocks full of the rings are full of rocks type of end.
If this is how they're curling in the first end, I'm sure we're in for a treat as the game progresses.
Does get just enough to roll that one out.
With that weight, you can hit a little thicker and be able to roll out, as this one ends up a blank as well. 0-0 after one. Hlushak maintains hammer. And we're back for the second end of the U18 Optimist Provincial Finals between Team Hiebert and Team Hlushak. These teams are no strangers to each other, having played each other multiple times through U18 events and even some junior events in U20s. Almost all their games have always come down to a few shots here and there, so it'll be very interesting to see how this game plays out in the later ends as the game progresses.
Hlushak, however, does own the head-to-head at about 3 or 4-0. And Hlushak actually has been top team of the U18 tour, I think, in points, and they're quite well, doing quite well in U20s as well. So, been a really good season for them. So, this will be the cherry on top for them if they can win this game too.
Team Hiebert did call for a guard, but the rock did just slide a little too far. And Team Hlushak elected to go with the corner guard after, but it appears that they are also slid a little bit too far. We're sliding into the house there. This
might be a sign that the ice is speeding up a little more than they expected to for the first or second end.
Yeah.
Could be a little different than prior in the week, but it could just be a couple of miscues. Not sure yet.
Maybe the ice has sped up quicker than past games. The ice could be a little bit different, like you said. I do remember when I played in my provincial final a couple of years ago. You were there, you were on the team as well. That the ice did feel a little bit different in the final. It's about a little more curl and also a little faster. So that could very well be the case here as well. We'll see as the ending game progresses to see if what the ice remains like as the game continues on. With both these teams having clinched national berths, there's still they're no stranger to national events. Both these teams have players who have played in national events, like Oliver had mentioned before. Team Hlushak has Lucas Sawiak, who actually won the U18s last year with Team Davies, as well as Team Hiebert has Nate and Jackson, who have participated in 2 different U18 events. And Evan Henniger has participated in 3 national events representing Nova Scotia. But having moved here for school, this would be his first chance to represent Alberta at a national event.
Electing to throw the draw here instead of trying to address the red on the right side. Do you think this is, what do you think about this one?
I don't love this call. I would honestly still throw up a center guard. Yes, that would allow Hlushak to make the hit and sit 2. But like any stagger, give a hit and roll double to roll under that center. But this is no means a bad shot. This just requires them to have 5 or 6 more perfect shots to maintain that force.
It does look like they got just far enough maybe for shot, but does leave Hlushak with the hit and roll to sit at least 1.
In a game like this, it'll be interesting to see what team makes the move first, whether Team Hiebert will actually throw a center guard later in the end if given the opportunity, or if they will continue to keep the end open and have Hlushak make the first move.
It does look like both teams are willing to play aggressively, as they both did call guards. It was just a little bit unfortunate on the misses, though. Beautiful shot there from Noah Mason-Wood, just to make that roll and pop the second rock out as well.
Pretty good spot there as well, because the double, if Team Hiebert would attempt the double, that top red would go right into that side yellow.
Setting up a pretty simple deuce.
Could set up a pretty simple deuce if that shot was attempted. Team Hiebert instead elects to play a hit and roll off that shot rock and try and roll towards the center for shot and potentially set 2. Looks pretty close.
Super is on it pretty early, though.
You're on him the whole way down.
10.4 seconds. Might have been a little bit less straight than they wanted, but makes a shot really well.
Very good sweep there from Nate Burton.
Holds that rock right where they need it. Would have liked a little roll in to create a little separation, but still good. Leaves Hlushak with the ability to make the hit on the top. Depending on if that second yellow is shot over the red, it could be a pretty important to make that to to make a double here if they could.
If Team Hlushak wanted to, there is an attempt at a double just to kind of crotch those two rocks and send that red right back onto the side of that yellow rock.
It
may
does
set
appear as though that's what they're throwing.
It may set up a double right back,
never
but
mind, maybe not.
it's definitely an option if Team Hlushak did elect to throw that.
He does switch the turn on the throw there, so looks like they're throwing a fair amount away. Could be the double here. Catches a little bit thick to make the double, but does make one yellow rock go away. Does lose the run rock.
Yellow does remain shot. Just a little outward motion there might have kept the rock out there just a little too much. And with that weight, it's a little difficult to bring back any outward motion.
Trying to put another rock up in the rings, I believe, just to try and sit two. Wants to be back house just to make sure there's no doubles. I do like back house. Just gotta make sure that they don't leave any doubles here. Would you ever consider throwing up a guard here with the way the yellow is staggered off of the red?
You could throw a center guard here as well. It's a little heavy there from Evan Henniger. Just to try and bring the rocks back down to the center line. That would, of course, allow Hlushak to hit that yellow and sit two. But there would be then a center guard in play to come around later. But Evan just goes a little bit heavy through the house and gives Team Hlushak the opportunity to hit and roll, split the rings, and try and set up a solid deuce here.
Does kiss the first red, and just kills it. But he does get rid of the yellow as well, which does set up another blank attempt here, probably, just by the end of the end.
I believe that yellow rock did leave the house, so it does appear a blank may be in store here. Just overcurled a hair too much there on that shot.
It was a good sweep from the front end, just couldn't hold it that extra probably inch they needed to get past the first red.
With these teams' hitting abilities, there's definitely, with rocks in play, you always have a possibility of a blank coming in with the capability of making doubles and all. And their precision with that really up weight.
With all these hits, do you think that it might be a little bit of a problem for the teams in the next couple ends when they may have to start throwing a few more draws? Do you think that could be an issue for weight judgment from the sweepers, or even just out of the thrower's hand? Do you think that might be a problem?
I think we've almost seen it already with a few rocks going through the house on draws. With all these hits being thrown, it's sometimes difficult to follow up a hit with a draw and make it perfectly, because having just thrown all that weight for a hit, you may tend to be a little heavier than you think out of the hand, and it may carry through the house at some points, like we have seen in this game already.
Another thing that could happen is when you throw hits for 3 or 4 consecutive ends, you often lose touch. So even if you make an effort to not overthrow your rocks, you just don't know what the ice might feel like because you haven't thrown a draw in so long, right? So for the back ends here, it might be a little bit of it'll be important to see which of them can make the draws.
I think it'll be important for this entire team to see which team can adapt from throwing a potential hit on their first rock to having to throw a draw or even potentially a guard on their next one accurately. So I think this game might honestly be determined by teams who can adjust their weight quicker, and it may become pivotal late game if a team is forced to draw against a multiple or forced to hit. This may also dictate shot calling later in the game too. If a team has to decide between a hit or a draw, with all these hits early on, you may see teams tend towards the hit later in the game after not having thrown many draws.
If the times are consistently communicated though within the team, it is a good team with that kind of communication will be able to draw regardless of how many hits you've thrown consecutively. So it's just all about communicating times and paths. Great sweep there from Noah to keep that one from jamming. Now just same thing for Hiebert. Got to make sure they don't jam.
You just got to remove this rock, but they also do have to be aware of that jam in the back of the house, or biting the back line. It doesn't appear to be in, so a little roll away would be really good for Team Hiebert. And make him go a little wider. Even maybe play with that catcher on the reds over there if it comes into it. But
although with Hlushak attempting to throw a blank attempt after this one, it might be worth rolling it to a different spot so that a jam, if they do jam, they were going to get one anyway. So it might be worth rolling to where the real attempt could jam. Very well thrown from Team Hiebert. Get that one just out as far as they can. Maybe bury a tiny bit behind that edge rock. Force them to throw the in out here.
Yeah, that red is now in play. It's in the mind of Skip Hlushak here. The rock does appear to be wide open. However, that guard can come into play if he does end up being a little bit tight. Out this far, I'll be curious to see of how this rock moves in out. Because if he was throwing out in, it might catch the frost and curl a little more, but going this way, it should run pretty well.
What exactly do you mean by in out and out in?
In out is where it goes from the center line. A little wiki tick there,
Just
and
papers it.
able to maintain the blank. An in-out shot would be where a rock starts at the center line and moves towards the wings, whereas a out-in throw would be one where a broom is on the wings and a rock comes towards the center line.
Yes.
Another blank of descend, and it is 0-0 after 2. And we're back for the third end here of the U18 Provincial Final between Team Hiebert and Team Hlushak. Update on the women's side as Team Gifford was able to score 2 in the second end to take a 2-0 lead over Team Whitbread. Team Hiebert elects to throw a center guard. Does overcurl the center line just a little bit, but it is still a good center guard.
Although with the no tick rule, that would allow Team Hlushak to kiss off the guard if they do miss inside, or just throw a tick if they felt. And with the inside sweeper already on it, that does feel like it might come into play.
It does appear both teams are taking a little less ice than I would have expected in the provincial final. Both had an edge of 4 there for their draws, and they both did over curl. I wonder if maybe they were a little tight, or if it's just curling a little more than they're expecting. Because even on this draw here, Team Hiebert's not taking much more than like 2 feet of ice, so the ice must be pretty straight out there for them.
shot where it is jumping on more than they expected to. So it does look like that tighter ice might be. They are switching now, so it might be necessary.
That rock ran very straight. My guess is that any outward motion, that the rocks are going to run pretty straight. So maybe later in games, if they're chasing rocks around guards, they may have to be a little wary with the ice and the releases, just in case some of them have more outward releases here.
It could also have something to do with the turn that they're choosing, as the two in turns thrown did cross the center line, but the out turn they just threw did not move at all the way they wanted it to. And this out turn hit as well is running fairly straight and only catches about a quarter of the rock before rolling out. So I do believe that the sheet might be just a tiny bit slanted.
That's definitely a possibility. I just see Team Hiebert even take even less ice on this rock here.
Only expecting about 2.5 feet of curl here on a draw. That does indicate something to do with the ice being straight. Especially with a tight guard, that'll be tough to bury all the way around.
With this ice appearing pretty straight, well, what's your preference? Would you rather play on a sheet that curls a ton, or would you rather play on a sheet that maybe looks like this, where it's pretty straight the whole way down?
Last year, I would have definitely said the straighter sheet, because I had a very soft handle on my releases, so my rocks would curl quite a lot. But this year I have adjusted the way I throw, and so I do much prefer a curly ice.
I think I'd have to agree with you on that one. I'd much prefer curly ice. It also helps the sweepers a little bit because they can manipulate the rock a little more on curly ice than, say, on straight ice. Because say you might set it out a little bit on a straight sheet of ice, there's less chance of you being able to save that rock as a sweeper versus a curly sheet of ice, in which the sweepers can play a big part of this, big part of the shot.
Big sweep there from Lucas Saliak to get that rock perfectly underneath. Very well done to keep that rock straight.
It does appear to roll half open. Team Hiebert does have a chance to chase it.
If this ice is slanted, this is definitely the curlier turn, so they're going to have to watch out for that.
One thing with straight ice, the sweepers can definitely hold rocks. So you could be a little tight out of the hand, and it gives your sweepers an opportunity to hold it. This does seem to be curling quite a bit out of the hands. They just get a bye.
As Evan almost falls over.
Takes
Great
a tumble
sweep
there.
to hold it there and gets a near perfect roll.
Perfect roll. Nice little acrobat move by Evan there to avoid the corner guard.
Does look like he's okay though, so nothing to worry about.
With this being a provincial final, you can probably hear the fans out on the ice with all those cowbells and horns. And even inside up here, upstairs, there's tons of fans. The upstairs is packed full of fans. Curling is a big sport here, especially in small towns such as Sylvan Lake. Curling is a big fan attraction. And I always love coming to smaller towns to curl because some of the fans there are just incredible. The fan levels, the fan participation is always super fun to be a part of. Another very good shot there from...
Still get to even hold part of their rock underneath the center guard, which is very well thrown. Really good sweep there to get it underneath too. They are going to attempt to follow it down, taking a fair amount less than they did with the other two when they tried it on the other side on the yellow rock. So maybe expecting here to be swept a little bit more, or maybe a more out turn. Or it is an out turn here now, so it could be a little bit more of an outward release.
With Evan being a lefty here, it makes Jackson think a little bit more than if he were right-handed, because Jackson is a right-hander himself. So he may tend to call a shot more for a right-handed thrower, ice-wise. But he has to be aware that Evan on his team is a lefty, and even for Peter as well, with his front end being both left-handed, they have to make sure they watch their line for righty versus a lefty, because a righty's in turn would be a lefty's out turn, and out turns have a little bit more of a tendency to be floated out just a little bit. So if you were to give a ice for right-handed in turn it may be a little too much ice for a left-handed outturn because of the tendency to float out just a little bit. I, as a skip, have never had to deal with that. I've never played with lefty before, but I could definitely see it being something, even just like a small little mental lapse as a skip, where you just put your broom down subconsciously, thinking that the thrower might be right-handed, and it could impact the throw or even their chance at making that throw as well. So always being on top of the line for your throwers is really important as a skip.
Jackson does elect to throw the split here to try and set up a force. This is a pretty aggressive call, but it does make sense with the end, and they would like to get a force here in 3, so they're gonna have hammer and evens. But just it looks again like it could be another overthrow.
That may also have been another opportunity of another situation of what we were just talking about, where
Just an overthrow
just an overthrow off of hits, or even just a little bit too much line with that lefty out turn, and it may have played a little bit of an impact on that shot.
I think both of those two things could have had an impact, but it could just be the weight. I didn't see what he called, but if he was calling a split, that rock probably still should have stuck around if they didn't make contact.
Update on the women's side is there's another blank in the third end as De Skiffert maintains their 2-0 lead heading into the fourth. Hlushak elects to come around the center guard here. Does see a little bit out there. Early sweeping on straight ice can definitely push a rock out there. So it's a little more difficult if the thrower does throw a rock late. You often tend to kill the rock just a little bit to get that weight there. But on straight ice, it can push it out far, and it may be too much to bring back at the end of the shot there, kind of like we saw there.
In the end, I don't believe that it gets ringed, so Jackson does elect to just go around the corner guard. Without hammer, do you think this is the call, or would you have preferred to go underneath the center guard?
This isn't a bad call. It honestly depends. I think it might be dependent on their opponent's ability to potentially make a run back. Because if they did go around their red, or the opponent's red rock, and they did make a perfect run back, they would be chasing that rock. So if they did go around that center red, I do believe that they'd want to show at least a piece open, so it'd be a little more of a difficult run back instead of just a straight nose run back. So that may have played an impact here.
Does look like Jackson might have iced himself based off of what he saw from Evan and just over curls a bit. Does get a nice spill in for the center guard, or into the center, and he might have actually tapped his corner in as well. Overall, a very good plan B shot from the third.
Does leave a double opportunity for Peter right back, and if he does make the double, the rock should be wide open, unless he does hit it a little thick and roll up.
But definitely an opportunity here for Hlushak, but it's a tough shot, so he's going to have to, and coach does calls a timeout, so maybe saying something else here, maybe a tap, or maybe he does want to throw one of that run backs we talked about. What would you say would be your call here?
I would be tempted to throw the run back.
I think
if you can hit it on the nose, it's pretty good because you roll underneath your kind of two rocks there. May force Team Hiebert into either throwing a run back with two opposing colors or draw wide around if they feel really aggressive. Also, with the distance being relatively short here for Peter, the run back doesn't seem as difficult as if it would be a little bit longer. So if he was hit this on the nose, it does make Team Hiebert think a little bit about whether they want to play a run back right back, or if they think they can draw around and try and sink one. Rock just does overcurl it just a little bit. Gets contact, but
just does not remove the shooter.
Doesn't remove the shooter.
And spills onto the center line, which could allow Jackson to puts a lot of pressure on him. Look, he does. It looks like he wants to call a topped house guard just to make that draw harder. I do see it, but I don't know. I think with the two tap backs that he has anyways, I would consider the try getting there deeper, put some pressure on him.
I would try go top 8 half open on this ice. I don't know. Throwing where he wants it's a good shot, makes it a little more difficult for Peter. But I think if you want to put a lot of pressure on him, going around half buried top 8 would be a very good shot.
Or even deeper and try and bury a little more with seeing this last rock.
Like,
Make him throw that run back again.
You could do that too. I just think higher might not be that bad here because if they do try run back, they may not be shot out of it and may force a difficult shot. Whereas if they do go a little deeper, a run back would get them shot here.
Out of hand, the supers are calling it a little hot. Quite hot, actually.
It is a little wider out there with that.
Nate does start
Straight
to...
ice.
Nate's switching sides. Looks like he'll be fine on weight, just didn't get the curl he might have wanted.
Very good weight there, just stuck out there a little more than they were probably anticipating.
Maybe a little more weight than he wanted, as he did want top 12, but line actually was pretty okay. He wanted that 2 feet higher. Just wanted to block the draw, but
even
it
a
is still
foot higher, that's a very good shot. Makes it a very difficult shot here for Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Still not easy with this straight ice, but
Does
it is
have to stick
open. It is open for him.
I believe he's shooting against 3 right now, but that top house one could be out.
That does look into me, so I do believe this is against 3.
Does put some pressure on him, especially in the situation.
It may be a simple just nose hit here, but with those 2 biters around the house, it could play a factor in the shot.
Supers are cleaning, so it does look pretty close. And
Good
he's
shot
got
there
it.
from Peter Hlushak to get
Nice
one
pressure
here
shot.
in the third end and finally put a point on the scoreboard. 1-0 Hlushak after 3. After scoring their first point of the game in the third end, Team Hlushak appears to have elected to throw up a center guard. Continue on with try and put some rocks in play here and maybe even set up a force or even potentially a steal here at this end.
Does throw up a good center guard, nice and high here, which I think is actually the way they want to play it right now with how straight it's running. That's the best way to get the rocks buried underneath.
Team Hiebert elects to try and sink one here. Top 8, top 4. I don't think you want to go deep here because if you do, that allows Team Hlushak to shrink down the scoring area significantly and may prove difficult to score a potential deuce.
Jackson is calling this one a little bit tight, so they do have to get on that.
Rock is running dead straight here.
Looks like they're trying to get this one deep now, just to not to cut down their own scoring area.
They're taking it all the way
Good
back.
veteran call there from Evan to make sure they don't cut down their own scoring area with that draw. Well managed for sure. I had a coach once tell me that he liked that rock back 8 foot because once they go on top, it's like you get an extra guard on top of your own rock. Just a nice little protection scheme from the other team.
This is an interesting way to think about it, yeah. It is a low and forward transpine tee, but any rock in front of it technically is a guard. So later in the end, that could be a difference maker between a score, a deuce, or maybe even a force. Rock gets a lot closer to the center guard than Team Hiebert's, and actually almost over curls the backing there. Perfect weight though to freeze to it, just a little tighter line than what Team Hiebert had.
Does look like Hiebert will be going just underneath again, down to it or higher. Little bump they say is okay.
does appear we'll have a lot more rocks in play this end, and good chance there'll be a score this end.
With the play around center, would you ever consider trying to move it away just so you can set up a rip and then make sure you get your one here? Do you like playing this aggressive if you're Hiebert?
I do like playing aggressive, but also want to make sure there is a shot here. So maybe come Varrick's, the second rock, even thirds first. I might clear up the center if it's not looking pretty for us. But if it's setting up well for Team Hiebert enough and the guard's actually helping them, I wouldn't worry about clearing it up. But you do always want to make sure you have a room to score.
Perfect freeze there from Nate Burton. He gets it right on top of it. Still, it's a little bit of a problem. It's deep, but overall, a good throw.
If Team Hlushak can freeze one right on top, the scoring area you have for Team Hiebert shrinks significantly.
Pretty much right down to the pin.
Yeah, right down to the button, basically. So they got to make sure they have a little bit of room here. You may see Team Hiebert clear up the guard next, or if they want to, they feel confident enough, they may see him chase it around and put one right on the pin.
Just papers that guard. Getting down to it. Does look a little more weight than the last few rocks have been, so it's going to spill off a tiny bit. Very well thrown there, and good management from the team to make sure that they got it by into the pocket.
Big pocket now, back four, so it appears whoever can put one rock kind of right in the middle of that first may be the team scoring here. Team Hiebert does want to be careful, though, because they don't want to potentially be heavy and rack off and make an even bigger pocket for Team Hlushak, because any rock that gets put on top of that pile, it'll take at least a few shots to remove them.
Early on, it does look like they did play it safe to get in tight. So they sweep it. The sweepers are calling it a little heavy, so might be worth coming off. They are going to bump the back rock. Does leave another pocket, but overall, well thrown rock.
Does sit shot 2 here for Team Hiebert, but a good hit and roll here from Team Hlushak could be very difficult to remove for Team Hiebert later in this end.
Especially with all the rocks back there, there's a lot of backing for people to play around with. So anything they can get underneath that center guard is going to be a real problem for their opponents.
I do believe all these rocks in play, especially behind the T-line, are benefiting Team Hlushak a little more than Team Hiebert here.
Yes, they have managed to send quite well, actually. They have.
Because if Team Hlushak can put one right on top here with that center guard, it may be a little difficult here for Team Hiebert to remove it. With the perfect hit and roll here, you may see Team Hiebert go up there and rip the center.
Would be a safe call, but with the way that's pretty much a perfect throw. It makes it very tough to make that rock go away, no matter how you throw it, with all the backing.
Team Hiebert does elect to throw a freeze here. I would be tempted to go up and peel that center just to make sure you have enough room.
Especially with the fact that you're shot second and third and fourth. Second, third, and fifth. There's just a lot of options if they can get rid of that center. But this is an aggressive call. Depends on just the right call is the one you make, right?
Yep. Coach does call a timeout. Yeah, I do agree with him. I think Coach might tell him to peel this guard. This early on, I don't know if you want to be this aggressive, especially with that center guard and with all your yellows back tee. If you're ever heavy or wick off, Team Hlushak can sink another one, and you might be in a little bit of trouble here.
Although with that center guard, it isn't protecting the red, which could be why Jackson didn't want to throw it, and I do understand that, because right now you can get to the inside of that red and just push it back, still create more space. You don't need to kill it. You don't need to move any rocks around too much. Just create more backing and then just have one shot above tee, because you always want to be the highest rock, or at least the one that's above tee. And I do think that's worthwhile playing here with like the in-turn, just with like back four, make some rocks move around, but just not too much. And on sheet C in the women's final, Whitbread does take one to make the score 2-1 for Hiebert. It looks like Team Hiebert does stick with their initial call of the freeze in the top four. With this shot, I would have to think you'd want to leave your shot at least a quarter or a half rock open, just so you do have that angle into the 4 foot, no?
I do agree, yes. You don't want to completely bury this, and you definitely don't want to be heavy here. Leaving it top 8, top 12 isn't the worst thing either, because it always leaves you something to come off of or even send into that pile later in the end.
Supers are calling it to the back four right now.
That is not good. If this does go deep, this could be trouble here for Team Hiebert.
This is going to run just to the backing from the looks of it. It'll be enough to be shot, but with a good freeze here.
The good freeze here, Team Hlushak could be in business for a solid steal, maybe even a steal of multiple.
Although, if he does put that perfect, Hiebert does have the ability to slam the one red on the left side in, so he does have to. Peter does have to watch out for that. It might be better off to leave that a little bit higher, just to ensure that there's no slash double here, especially with all the yellows in the house.
Looks like a pretty good throw down here, just creating a little more than the rest of the rocks.
This one is diving really good. Papers the top red and a perfect draw. Jackson does elect to peel now.
He does go up and peel here now. There does appear to still be a slash on the reds. I believe 2 yellows would stick around, so if I'm Team Hlushak on the next shot, I think you're actually guarding the shot on the left of the rock.
Does look like he's missing this a little bit wide, but Jackson's playing it for the back rock instead now.
Oh, interesting.
Does make it okay.
It does make it better.
Does
better
get it back to shot
for
and he removes the red from shot, but it does leave another pocket. Looked like he just might have been a little bit wide there again for Evan.
a little outward with that motion at that weight.
Yeah, could have been.
There's no shot of it coming back, so. It does remove shot rock, though, so Team Hlushak has to follow it back up with another very good freeze.
They just throw it, so they will know the path pretty well. Does look like they are a little bit further out than they were on the last one, so they're going to have to watch out for that, but it's still very close.
It's really good here.
Going right into the pocket, very well thrown. Even bumps it to sit second shot as well. They will elect to throw the peel again. Looks like he has tightened up the ice a bit just to ensure that outward motion won't be a problem.
There still may potentially be. It may be difficult for. It may be difficult for Team Hiebert to remove this shot stone. It probably would require a lot of weight.
I do know Jackson can throw a lot of weight, though.
That is true. If anyone can throw a lot of weight, definitely is Jackson.
Does make the peel. Very well thrown.
Does roll it away, which is good.
Actually, that could set up a nice little angle for them if they do eventually have to come down to that. Just with that little angle run in could be their saving grace to kill both of those two reds in the forefoot. Still a tough shot if they do have to throw it, but options.
That shot could be for a handful,
but Hlushak
too.
is still sitting very nicely here. Electing to throw a top 12 guard. Either or would work, but I think they're playing this for a top 12. Just want to be tighter here so there's no soft weight hit or anything.
A little bit of separation from the shot red and the back yellow may assist Team Hiebert in removing that stone if it comes down to it.
Still very difficult to try.
Still very difficult, but that separation may be
an absolute missile,
saving
3/4
grace.
high.
Yeah, saving grace for Team Hiebert here.
And with the way those two, with the extra yellows in the back of the house, they could maybe make some count, but still got to make a lot of shots with Hlushak very much in control right now.
Team Hiebert does have a lot of stones in play. However, due to the fact that they're all behind T, they actually end up hurting them a little more than helping them, and could be problematic to get in attempting to get rid of the shot stone here.
And a perfect guard there from Peter, just making a simple shot, making it look easy.
It does leave that red open a little bit. May entice Team Hiebert to try and chase it, but the angles are out kind of the wrong way for Team Hiebert to remove that red. It may spin up actually, due to the spin of the rock coming off the second red of the back four. It may spin up just a little bit up towards the top four if he throws a lot of weight at this, which it appears will be coming with a lot of weight here.
I imagine they're going to play this pretty tight to the guard, as if you rip that guard, it's better than to get any of the back rocks.
I agree. Well,
It does look like a lot of weight.
It was pretty close, and it just does tick the guard.
On my stopwatch, that's 6 seconds. Although I did start a little late. That rock there they did touch in the back corner. It did hit the boards before it hit that, so the rock will be put back in play as they did.
Interesting situation for Team Hlushak. If they wanted to be very aggressive, they could try and put another red rock right on that pile. However, if you're off on an angle at all, Team Hiebert may be able to blast it out of there. As we saw with that last throw, Team Jackson can throw a lot of weight.
Does look like they're going to replace the guard as they did before. Same shot. Should be pretty simple for them.
Does look a little wider
Switching
here,
earlier here.
but the rock does seem to be curling up pretty nicely here.
Does look like it will be okay there. Actually might be over curling a little more than they wanted it to. Showing probably
Show about a third to
maybe a half a rock.
half a rock. Might entice Team Hiebert to the exact same thing. I don't know what else Team Hiebert has.
I'm not sure, although I don't know that this red is so perfectly where it is. That rock will borderline impossible to move.
They may just try and blast it out. At the very worst, just remove that second shoot scored for red and give them one.
Do you think you can hit this thin enough to get it to go straight sideways, or is that just out of the question? Evan,
That definitely could be there.
Thin quarter. Hope for the best.
Yeah, that's like a 5-6 second rock with like a
He
fifth.
just did it.
Yeah, same weight. Just you gotta basically paper that top rock.
It'd be perfect to throw it with how well that red is in play. Does look like they're looking at the run back now.
That could be a little dangerous because if they do stuff this rock, it would be a 3. However, it may be easier to get rocks moving.
Maybe they just need to hit it pretty thick to make the run they think they had.
I assume they would try and send it over the top.
Yes, yeah, they would.
But
Probably
I
just higher.
I
just a
still
little high
believe
nose.
the shooter sticks, or the shot rock sticks.
Looks like a lot of weight again.
A ton of weight here.
Haven't heard a call from the line caller. It looks like he just
Just a
got it
little
thick
out there.
or thin. Bit of an outward motion.
Does
Here's a
appear to be
two.
a steal of 2 for Team Hlushak. They take a 3-0 lead into the fourth end break. And we are back for the second half of this U18 Provincial Final between Team Hlushak and Team Hiebert. Team Hlushak coming off a huge steal of 2 there in that fourth end. Was able to throw up a rock top 4 and could bring the play to the center early on in this end. For those who may be new in curling or just beginning, you may have thought that that end was setting up pretty good for Team Hiebert with all the yellows in play. However, because they were all so far behind T-line, that gave Team Hlushak multiple opportunities to throw rocks right on top and even freeze to them. Freeze would be put one right on top of their rock. And in doing so, with all those yellows in the back of the house, it ultimately made it quite difficult for Team Hiebert to remove those shot stones, and ultimately was a solid reason why Team Hlushak was able to get a steal of 2 out of that end. So that just emphasizes the importance. A lot of young coaches do this, especially coaches of young teams, emphasize the importance of having your rocks above T line. Because if they're above T, you can at least tap it back. You're be able to move them around, at least in your favor. However, if they are behind T, you are giving your opponent lots of opportunities to put rocks right on top. And in a case where they might have had lots of rocks and potentially a shot for a big end, one freeze right on top of those rocks could take away the whole end. So even though Team Hiebert did have 4 or 5 rocks in play, Team Hlushak, was able to sink one perfectly, and then they just have to guard it for the rest of the end, and they end up with a solid steal of 2 there. As we see Team Hiebert throw up a corner guard, which would be as expected in a situation like this, and Team Hlushak follows it up with a center guard, basically choking off that corner guard. Very well put there from Team Hlushak. They also, some people may think that's not that great because it still leaves that red rock open. However, if Team Hiebert was to chase that red rock and roll, they'd be rolling away from the corner guard, which Team Hlushak would be perfectly fine with. However, if they showed an open side on the other side of the corner of the center guard here, Team Hiebert would be able to maybe hit and roll under that corner guard and try and set up a deuce. So very well put rock there for Team Hlushak.
It does appear that the coach of Team Hiebert does prefer to throw the hit than the draw, as the draw is very tough to make it to that port with how the red rock is higher up than the yellow. So the curl would make it very difficult to make the throw.
Another good reason for that red guard is that it does choke off that corner guard, making it very difficult to try and draw around that corner guard.
Very little weight there from Nate Burton. Might have been a miss throw or maybe a miscommunication there.
Not sure if that was just not enough ice or if that was just not the proper weight. But it did overcurl just a little bit. It is buried behind the guards. However, like before, it is behind T-line, which could prove costly here for Team Hiebert to try and get their multiple back here.
And with that corner being where it is, it also makes even the draw to the center with the outturn looks pretty tough. So overall, just gonna have to say, Team Hlushak is making a lot of shots and making them very well.
Just a little tight there from Team Hlushak. They do rack on the center guard and do roll for another staggered corner. So Team Hiebert could either elect to hit this rock under the center, or if they do prefer, they could hit and roll under the corners, which I do believe probably would be a better result here, especially when trying to score multiple. Playing to the wings would be very nice if Hiebert can get this rock out towards the wings on a really good hit and roll here.
Although with the hit and roll to the corner, it does put you behind the T line, which later in the end could put them in a little bit of trouble, just like it did in the last end. It does look like they have changed calls now to try and get underneath the center guard. Just kind of got caught between the two shots.
Nice shot there from Ferrick Dopker. Does leave a pretty simple double back though for Team Hlushak. It is buried a piece, so that red corner guard there is in play. However, you just gotta, with any weight here, both yellows go if you hit it anywhere on the left side of the rock. However, another good shot here for Team Hlushak might just be hitting this right on the nose, sit right on top of that yellow, and Team Hiebert would have a very difficult task of removing it and keeping that back yellow if they wanted.
Although a nose hit here would spill the yellow out a little bit, so it would set up a slight angle, perhaps, which could make it possible. But I do think they're throwing that double, which I like that call.
Just does overcurl a little bit and clips that top red guard. Team Hiebert elects to draw around this corner. He did call for a perfectly buried rock here. However, I do believe leaving it open would not be a bad shot whatsoever.
Try and get on to about the edge of the corner guard and try and protect a little bit from the two yellows in the rings. Yeah.
In curling, we like to call that a Christmas tree, just because of how the angle of the rock would set up. So if you're able to bury about half a rock here, it may make removing those back two a little more difficult than if you completely bury the shot right here.
It does look though that they are committing to getting this all the way around as they can, which it's still a serviceable rock. It's perfectly where they wanted to call it. Still a little open, but
very good shot there from Team Hiebert, as they do now have 3 rocks in play close to that center or that corner guard. Pardon me. However, it is now a pretty simple nose double here for Lucas Salwiak, even a little bit high. Or center line side of the rock does kill both yellows here. That is a second rock for Team Hlushak that has overcurled just a little bit on that spot. So I'm wondering if it's either the spot on the ice that's really curly, or if it's the releases of our them with turning them in potentially, or just even starting them.
Jackson does change the call here to throw the guard instead of going on the corner here. I do like that. Protect your two, make them throw some peels, because they'd have to outdraw you, and if you leave, as long as you leave a little bit of space on the outturn side, you should have an angle one way or the other to just make a little tap back later in the end.
This isn't a lot of ice for a guard of protecting those yellow rocks, but we have seen this ice is very straight, so it does appear
it is
less
running
ice.
quite straight, actually.
The sweepers have backed completely off this rock, so this rock does appear to be carrying into the house a little deeper than they would have wanted.
He's going to stop in the 8 foot.
Not a bad spot for it, but
might leave a triple.
If Hlushak can get to the inside of that yellow just a little bit, all 3 rocks could be leaving here. Update on sheet C for the women's final. Team de Skifford breaks out with a huge score of 3 to go up 5-1 after 5.
Does make
Good
the
shot
double
there.
here, but just couldn't get far enough inside the nose to make the triple. Still very good throw.
Gives Hiebert an opportunity to try and roll underneath that corner. If this would be a very good opportunity to try and Christmas tree these rocks and make it a little difficult to remove all of these rocks. You do want to overroll here would probably be better, because an underroll would set up another double potentially for Team Hlushak.
Is running a little bit wide right now. Just another
rock that runs 2 straight for them.
It does look that the out turns on that path are running very straight, but the in turns in that area were curling quite a lot. I do think that there could be something in the ice that the team should be looking into.
It does appear that it is curling more towards the right side of the sheet, so that could tell me that the sheet might be a little bit slanted. And I wonder if the teams have picked up on that yet. I do believe after this end, both teams will probably talk about those shots there on how Team Hlushak had a couple over curls going towards the right side, whereas Team Hiebert had a under curl with the outturn rock. So it definitely appears it could be slanted towards the right side here.
Again, a slight undercurl there, definitely supporting our theory, but a little bit less than the last couple. Might have iced for it though.
It is important for skips and even just the entire team to really focus up on those lines and the sheets, because there can be sheets like this potentially where it may be slanted towards one side, and if you're not able to pick up on that early, the rocks, you may miss shots in ways that you won't have if you were able to pick up the curl of the sheet. Does seem a little wider out there too.
Just not curling back at all.
It doesn't seem like Hiebert's picked up on the straight side there with a lot of undercurls, pardon me, with that exact same spot.
It does definitely look like Hlushak has picked up on it way better than Hiebert has, especially seeing as they're going out with the in turn now, which they know is the swingier turn.
I think it'll be important if Coach Les for Team Hiebert has noticed this to bring this up into this after the end and make sure that their team is aware of what's happening on the sheet. Because it does appear that Team Hlushak has picked up on it, whereas Team Hiebert still may be struggling with that spot there and are unsure about what's happening.
They are sweeping this one early. Maybe maybe it's breaking even harder than they expected to.
Very close to that center guard there.
Does just tick off of it.
Ticks off it, unfortunately. Does give Hiebert an opportunity to blank this end and retry the next end.
Does shorten the game. Just missed opportunities here for both teams, I would say.
I agree. There's definitely opportunities for both teams. I would think now after this end that both teams will have picked up on this sheet and hopefully can use that to their advantage in the final three ends of this game. As another blank goes on the board, as Hlushak maintains their 3-0 lead after 5. We're back to the 6th end of this provincial final here in Sylvan Lake between Team Hiebert and Team Hlushak. We saw last end how both teams were caught a little in between with the ice and with their overcurls and undercurls. So I wonder if going into this end the teams have picked up on that and may play the end a little differently or adjust their ice appropriately for the shots they'll be calling this end.
Is taking a little less than center line for a little more swingy turn, so they're gonna have to watch for this one. But they are starting with their outside sleeper on the inside, so maybe they are expecting this one to be a little straighter.
This was the side we did see curl though, however in the last end, so it does appear to be running pretty straight.
A little bit better coming home from the looks of it. It might just be a one-way thing.
It does appear going away.
Although it did curl up to almost edge 12, or edge of 8 foot, so that's still a fair amount of curl, I would say.
So maybe early on with two very well placed rocks, these teams have picked up on this ice just a little bit better here. They can now put the ice down appropriately and make their shots a little more effectively here. Team Hlushak does decide to go up with the center guard.
Does look a little high, but still chokes off the corner a little bit. Not impossible to get underneath, but definitely a good guard there.
Definitely is a little bit of a difficult attempt to get around this corner now without rock in play. The stagger of the rocks is the wrong way for Team Hiebert, and could be a little more difficult here to get around this corner guard.
This path is jumping on them a little bit more again. Seems like they gave up on that rock a little bit early and just papered it.
I do believe with this ice you may have been able to get that by full sweep with how straight it's been, but
that turn is still moving a little bit. I think if it was the other turn, for sure they could have gotten that, but it's just he did get a decent chunk of it, so it would have been probably out of hand had to go to get that by.
It does make it a little easier now to go around the corner guard, and they also have a yellow rock just off the center line that they could use later in the end if need be.
This one also looks like it's curling, so I do think they're still having a couple of issues with how the ice is shaped. Team Hiebert just electing to throw a little tap back here, not too much weight. Don't want to risk losing too many stones here, but just want to make sure that they can have access to the 4 foot to ensure at least a 1 here.
Does seem to be a little wider out there again, still on that straighter side. Maybe a split in the house is possible. Just misses the rock.
Looks like it's going to run through.
Just runs through the house.
Just another one down that path there where they're not picking up on the swingy versus not swingy turns.
Update on sheet C with the women's. Gifford comes out with a massive steal of 4, and that finishes off the game as Team Gifford wins the U18 Provincial Championship and will represent Alberta as Team 1 in Ontario in February. Congratulations to them, as well as Team Whitbread on a very solid game played, and will represent Alberta as Team 2 in Ontario in a few months, or in a month, pardon me. Team Hlushak follows that up with a very good draw around. Will be very difficult to access. Team Hiebert now has to figure out a way to at least ensure that they can score here, because another steal in this end could be costly later in this game.
He is electing to throw the run back now. Or, I do believe that's a run back, yes. Just trying to go red, yellow, red from looks of it. Or maybe just appeal.
Just
not sure what the call was there, but very close to making the run back, and still gets the roll out of there, so it's worked very functional as appeal as well.
Just overcalled it again. I think expecting more curl than they got, and got caught in that spot once again with that really straight side of curl there. Hlushak can put up another guard here. Hiebert may be in trouble to try even get rid of these 2 rocks in the forefoot again.
A little bit overthrown right now from the looks of it by still sweepers. But they should be able to just get this one off the top guard. It'll be in a good spot. It's a good plan B there, just to make sure that they still get on the center line off that tick.
Good shot there from Team Hlushak. Does provide protection in front of those 2 rocks in the house, but it is a little bit tighter, so it could be a little easier to run back and potentially move these rocks in around the house.
It does look like they have. It does look like they have taken a little less ice here, with it being the straighter turn. But it is a little less ice or a little less weight than they've been throwing. It's still just under curls a little bit on them.
Does push their yellow into play behind their corner. So if they are able to remove those 2 reds in the house, they would have a second shooter there to potentially score. However, if Hlushak does put up a good center guard here, Hiebert could be in a little bit of trouble to try and get these rocks out of the forefoot here.
With all the corner, it does look like this one's this same path is running a little straighter than they might have expected it to, and just again, that in turn is not moving much. They're gonna get it'll move up just a little bit, almost enough, just a little short of what they wanted, but still very good. With all the corners in play, there is still options for Hiebert, but they are electing to throw the run backs.
There is a potential to move all 3 of these rocks around and maybe even kill all 3 rocks. This could be an important shot here for Team Hiebert if they do want to try and score 1 and maybe even a 2. Just another time where they... very close to picking up their own yellow, but just another shot where they just can't read the ice properly and overthrow it again. It's a little too much ice. Team Hlushak just has to throw another center guard.
Looks like they're just going to keep repeating the same process. Just put it up, and no need to be any more aggressive at up 3 already. They have a pretty good chance at a steal here. Just got to keep putting that guard back.
Team Hiebert will have to make a big shot here on the next 2 shots to try and score. Otherwise, they may be in trouble. They are calling this rock a little heavier than they may want. It is carrying a little farther than they may have wanted.
Does go right into the rings, but taps the first rock in underneath the guard, so it does leave still options. It does look like Hiebert is seeing a triple here. Gonna need to get pretty tight to that guard to make it, though.
There could potentially be a shot where all 3 reds go out of the 8-foot here, and they could be shot 2 after this. They're gonna have to hit this shot, this top rock here, a little thin, and hope that rock goes just far enough to bring that right yellow, into play here. A little bit of a miscue there from Peter. It does give Team Hiebert an opportunity to try and bring that yellow into play here. Just by the center. Beautiful shot there from Team Hiebert. Beautiful shot there from Jackson.
And the crowd goes wild.
Team Hlushak does still have an opportunity to sink a hit and roll underneath this center guard, and it still be a difficult attempt for Jackson to remove that rock with this ice being so straight. That might have been a game saver there for Jackson.
It's gonna blind CC. It had to have been a blind CC. Yeah, but I didn't get here a whole lot.
It's a little wider out of the hand, and with that straight spot, it just doesn't have enough time to come up. Does roll pretty close to that corner, so
Brings the corners back into play, but does appear to be wide open from where we're sitting.
does appear wide open, and Jackson has an opportunity for a huge 2 here to get right back in this game.
Though with this being the curly side, they are gonna have to watch out for that corner. Just make sure they have to make sure they remember that.
This will be the true test to see if they understand what the ice is doing here. Little positive there on the release. Just
rolls
does
it
roll
out.
out,
A
unfortunately.
positive release there.
That
And it's
outward motion on that rock may have just cost it the chance to curl up there. As Team Hiebert does get on the board with a score of 1 to go down 3-1 after 6. And we're back here in the 7th end of the provincial final between Team Hiebert and Team Hlushak. With Team Hiebert only managing to get 1 out of that last end, they're now in steal mode for the rest of the game. As a coach, after a shot like that, what would you tell the team to keep them focused here to try and fight back in this game and potentially win this game?
Game's not over. You got 2 more ends to play. Just got to make 16 rocks. There's not, especially in this game, it's super important that they don't give up. And it's super important for Hlushak, too, to not get complacent. They have to continue to make shots even with a 2-point lead. This is just, both teams have to make all their shots now. And as long as, and the team that shoots better will win, probably.
We do see a little bit of a miscue by Team Hiebert, just overkilling just a little bit, but it's still definitely a functional center guard as Team Hlushak chooses to follow it around. Does poke out a little bit on the other side, but with that being the straight side, that's still a very good shot.
Very good. And it doesn't go too deep as to cut down scoring at all. It's a very well-placed rock.
On a shot like that, you may think that you'd want to go top 4, even T-line, to get close to that center, close to the button. But with hammer, if you did do that, the opposing team would have an opportunity to come down and freeze and potentially be shot after it, and would then knock down your scoring area drastically. However, with where the rock ended up, top 8, top 12, they still have a big range of rings to draw to for either potential second or even more points. So as a skip, you got to be a little more aware of where you want rocks, because as we saw earlier in this game, rocks that go a little bit deep can come back to hurt you.
And if they do go deep, it's as much as you can freeze, you can also tap and create more backing as well, fit more of your own rocks in there. So a deep rock allows for as we saw in the third, fourth end, a deep rock can allow for a steal. So the closer you are to T-line, the more you can tap back.
Good come around there by Team Hlushak. But it does allow Team Hiebert to come down and freeze. Maybe in a little bit of a tap here would be good too to push that rock just behind T-line. Rocks behind the T-line are Team Hiebert's best friend right now, because any rock back there could either serve as a catcher later on or even potentially a rock to freeze on. So freezing to this rock with a little tap is a very important shot here.
Although to play that tap, even though this is the curly side, it's not curling that much. They would have to get very tight to that center guard. And it appears they've made the call to go try and squeak it by, just go over the line to get it by this to the guard, or the top four rock. And they do it. Can take it just to back four, probably shot. Overall, good plan B there. Just miss wide there. Very good weight choice and well thrown. It's just a little too wide.
Not a bad shot at all, because it is half buried behind that red. And if Team Hlushak does decide to chase like they do right now, that top red does come into play just a little bit. And if they do ever clip off that top red, Hiebert could put one top four, and then they'd be in business for a very good opportunity to steal here. A little wide out of the hand.
Is running a lot straighter than a lot of rocks down this direction have been, but
I think Team
just by.
I think Team Hlushak got a little too worried about that top red there and got a little trigger happy with the call there.
Does allow Hiebert to protect their shooter now. Allowing them to put pressure on to set up a possible steal.
If they can freeze one on an angle here on this top red here, there'd be a very good spot to put a lot of pressure and maybe set up a steal opportunity. This looks really good coming down.
They do have to get this into the top rock. Looks like it might overcurl just a smidge. Does overcurl. Doesn't
Just
protect
a
much from that
little bit.
back rock, but it does add a little bit.
Not a bad shot. They probably would have preferred that rock biting the center line just a little bit. Still very usable. It does protect that back yellow. Does make that top yellow very usable for later potential tap, or even tap that red behind the tee and maybe sit 2, maybe 3 later in the end.
If nothing else, the shot does make Hlushak think about what they do next. Coach does call the timeout here just to talk it over with his skip.
I do believe peeling here would not be bad. Playing into these rocks here would only benefit Team Hiebert here, because the more rocks in play for Team Hiebert, the better chance they can move them around and potentially set up a steal. A score here for Team Hlushak is very good, so if they can open up the center and maybe clear out some rocks.
When you clear, would you say you want to clear the guards first, or do you think the rocks in the rings are the ones you want to play at first?
You definitely want to clear the guards first, because if there's no guards, you'll always have at least an attempt at a shot rock. Whereas if these guards, Team Hiebert can sink one perfectly buried, and you may be drawing pin, or even side, you might be drawing button or pin to try and score here. So Team Hlushak just should try and open this up as well as they can.
They do elect to throw the peel, I think attempting at the double. Looks very close. Caught it a little thick. Gets both the guards, but does stay on the nose.
Very nice shot. Does make the double. However, that rock is the top rock doesn't really go anywhere. It just replaced with the red, which could help Team Hlushak later end if need be.
Hiebert is deciding to throw the tap back here. Would you say this is what you would throw, or would you consider a guard here?
I think with 4 rocks still to come, I wouldn't mind one more guard here. Mm-hmm. However, this isn't a bad shot. If they can make this perfectly,
does set up backing.
It'll be definitely set up backing, and there could definitely be a difficulty here moving these yellow rocks.
And you could even set up a steal of multiple, but still have to make the shots.
It's a little wider out there again, but just coming up pretty nicely here.
Super's doing a lot of work to make that one good. Did look like a lot of weight there, more than they wanted, but still does make the shot.
I believe Team Hiebert now shot 3, but that
No
red
center
is
guards,
a
though.
little high, so Team Hlushak can definitely chase any of these rocks they really want.
Although there's a chance that the double on the top 2 rocks would jam.
They do have to be careful about that, yeah. So they could also
Could play at the back rock and just try rolling for a shot.
I don't love that shot because if they do, then Team Hiebert just comes around, freezes, and then you're minimizing your scoring area again.
They do elect to throw the double here, I believe, or I think, yeah.
I do believe that is the right call. Try and clear up the center. Even if you do jam, at least it's behind the tee line to where you can potentially just have an open draw or score for your 2 or your 1, pardon me.
Did jam, but he does spill the yellow into the back of the 12-foot. Yellow
Hiebert-
does stick around for shot 2, but no more center guards, and yellow lose all their shooters on the center line.
A nose hit for Team Hiebert on this red is not a bad shot whatsoever.
Or even a slight roll towards the yellow rocks.
I don't know if I'd want to roll towards yellows very much. I think I'd like just to stick right on the nose. Maybe we could set up a tap back later in the end. You'll probably see Team Hlushak chase the side yellows and try and double them out.
Does sound like the thrower and the skip were having different thoughts on the line there. Does hit a little high side, but rolls on top of the yellow. Loses the center line, but still.
Does
Overall,
guard
all the
those-
yellows are in a line, protected.
Does guard those yellows, but could set up a big
Triple here.
blast from Lucas and potentially remove multiple yellows here. Still not a bad situation for Team Hiebert because if they do all go, Team Hiebert can throw probably an in-turn, try and bury around those 2 reds, kind of acting as 2 staggered guards.
Supers are having trouble keeping up with when it was thrown super hard. Overall, makes a double, very, very well thrown.
To make the double, Hiebert is still shot 1.
1 and 3 from the looks of it. I'm gonna have to make the draw around here.
Team Hiebert has a really good opportunity to sink one side 4 here. If you can bury it completely, Team Hlushak might have a lot of pressure on them to try and remove and score here. I do believe even a top 8 half open wouldn't be the worst shot here. I do believe that going deep here wouldn't be very beneficial to Team Hiebert. If you do show half, it blocks off a little bit more of a draw path, and if you're high enough, there would definitely be no double and could be a little bit of issue for Team Hlushak later in the end.
Supers are backing off a little bit, like it might be heavy.
Supers haven't touched this rock at all. It is just carrying a little bit too far.
Just needs to hold on to full 8-foot here. Does hold on.
And
it is shot.
completely
It's
buried.
well thrown. Just a little bit deeper than they would have wanted. Allows for a freeze, and there is a little more space than they might want to allow for a hit there. Appears as though Hlushak has elected to throw a little bump here, maybe just a freeze.
A little bump here could be good, but if they do roll open, it could give Team Hiebert another chance to kind of plop their yellow right back under. But Team Hiebert would have to be a little bit careful with that yellow back 8 as a jam possibility here. Really important shot here for Peter here. Lots of indecisiveness from the super. Now they're running all the way down. Does roll for shot, buried underneath their red rock.
And with the red guard up there, it shouldn't affect the right side guard. It shouldn't affect the throw, but it is still just a distraction in the thrower's eyes. The coach does call a timeout here, maybe wanting a different call. What do you think about this one?
You could always throw the same shot here and leave it a little higher, but with that red off-centered guard being so high, you could definitely still chase it and do the exact same shot Peter just threw.
He just proved he can make it, so I like changing it up here.
I do like this call, and if you're a little bit heavy and tap it back and sit two, it may not be horrible, but I think line here is more important. Obviously you want to be frozen and shot, but you don't want to chap off the red and roll right on top and leave Team Hlushak a double for three, because that could probably be the game there if that does happen. Very important shot here for Team Hiebert. This is one of the shots where communication has to be perfect between the thrower, the sweepers, and the line caller in the house.
He's going to need very similar weight to his first one. Sweepers are on this one a lot more than they were at the beginning of the first. Are still very close to that right side
yellow.
guard.
Just squeaks by.
Starting to curl up a lot now. Does just have to grab to get to that red. Plays quite well. Just does spill off a little bit, but is shot.
Very good shot there from Team Hiebert. Very difficult to make a double here for Team Hlushak. It may just be worth hitting this on the nose and scoring one here.
Does look like it'll be a simple enough one here.
One here's very good still for Team Hlushak.
Just going to draw down to it, follow the same path. Based on the way that last one curled up, it's still a tough port to throw with both the guards where they are. As Hiebert got quite close to the right side guard, so any extra space they have there could be a bit of a problem on the left side. Draw a left side rock on the top 12.
They also don't want to be wide here. I do believe the draw here is a better shot than the hit, because if you're ever a little bit wide on that hit and float it just a little, that side red could be a jam possibility and maybe bring in a steal of multiple. So I do like the shot call here from Team Hlushak.
They are starting to curl this one pretty early.
It is very close to that red rock, red center, just like
they do call line is good though.
Just get by, and what a great shot there from Team Hlushak.
Just drawn in there, well thrown.
Very well thrown there from Team Hlushak.
That is a one more Hlushak, making the score 4-1 going into 8. To begin the 8th end, it appears Hlushak will be going with the draw. Just want to make sure that they don't end up in the guard zone. And actually, they may be throwing this one through. Lucas is keeping a broom on it. Just want to keep that house clean. Don't want anything for Hiebert to come back to. Good call there. Don't want to give them anything with your rocks. Hiebert's going to have to throw a few corners here to get this game this end started up. Definitely needs a 3 here. Just needs 3 to force the extra.
Sweepers are sweeping this rock. You definitely. Oh, looks pretty good here. Just got to curl it over a little bit more. Very good spot there for Team Hiebert.
Well thrown. Would you say you want to stack your corners in this situation, or do you like splitting them?
I probably would split them still. That rock's still relatively close to the middle of the guard zone, where another corner guard could be a little difficult to throw without setting up a double. But I would definitely wouldn't be surprised if Team Hiebert went up and threw one on the same side. It's at this point it's kind of just personal preference on how you believe that the best shot here is.
And it comes down to which throw the lead wants to make. It does
Here's
look like he
there we
wants
go.
those stacked corners.
Yeah. Good shot there from Team Hlushak, leaving it top 4. Could be a rock that Team Hiebert has to chase at some point instead of being able to just draw around their corners. However, it also could be a rock that Team Hiebert uses to their advantage. We'll see how this unfolds out here.
This one's gonna have to be just over the hog line. Supers are saying it's a little hot. Do have to get over into the corner guard zone. Don't want to leave it in front of the 4-foot.
Pretty good shot
It's
there.
not a little deep, but still very well thrown. A little bit close together. Definitely will be a possible double, but they are stacked very nicely, so it'll be tough.
Team Hlushak likes to throw up a tight guard here.
Instead of playing defensive, they look like they're going to try to play this end a little more aggressively. Try and put pressure for Hiebert to make their shots. It's not a normal strategy, I wouldn't say, but I do like it.
You would have thought with the throw-through on the first that they may be a little more safe here, but it appears they're willing to put all the pressure on Team Hiebert here with their top 4 rock and then a tight guard here.
I believe that first rock was just an overthrown draw that they made a decision on halfway through to take it through, because you don't want your draws to be back house. So, still, very well thrown that one. Perfect guard.
5 very well thrown rocks so far this end. Even the throw through is a pretty good stone because you don't want too many rocks in play if you're Team Hlushak. Looks pretty good. They're going hard for the tick here. Just ticks
Just
off
rims it off
of
center
it.
line, so that rock will have to go. Oh, never mind. After the 5 rock rules, that is still fair game.
Very good shot there from Team.
Good call there to keep that
Good
rock
plan
in
B
play.
from Team Hiebert. It does appear to be wide open, if not mostly open, for Team Hlushak to chase, but they will have to play with the corners just a little bit.
Just gonna have to remove this rock. Probably want to roll this one out just to remove any chance of backing. Do get the nose of the rock. Probably not what they wanted to have there, but overall not terrible. It just leaves a little bit of backing perhaps for Hiebert here.
Definitely leaves a stuff potential here if Hiebert leaves this rock open just a little bit. I think Team Hlushak probably would have preferred to roll that rock out just so there's no chance of a potential jam here. Does look like a much better thrown rock here.
Supers draw this one a lot earlier. Definitely weight's gonna be closer.
Just rides the center line the whole way down.
Gonna have-
Doesn't quite curl up quite enough.
It's a little light, but with that jam possibility, it's not a terrible spot for that rock.
I think you might see Hlushak just try and rip the corner guard here.
Electing to rip the top guard. Just want to be safe. Don't want to risk with that jam right now.
Team Hiebert still has to play with that back rock if they do want to bring the rock just thrown into play. So Team Hlushak just elects to play it safe and just peel out the top corner guard there. Now some decision time for Team Hiebert as he calls
Does
a
call a
timeout.
timeout, trying to prepare for the rest of the end.
Not a terrible setup here for Team Hiebert. If they could either.
I personally like trying to split that yellow and roll towards center line. Just get both your rocks underneath corner or underneath guards. Just this, you got to add a little bit of pressure to your opponent's shots right now because they're just throwing appeals. If you can sit them both underneath the corners or underneath the guards, then you don't even need a miss at that point. Just need no doubles.
You could definitely do that. You just don't want to sit in front of that red top four, otherwise you may be in a little bit of trouble trying to remove that rock.
Yeah, I would definitely want to roll it so we're about half showing. So you'd usually be showing half on the left side of that center guard, just so you have two angles into it, and you'd want to stay your the tapped rock just behind the corner. Does look like that is what they're calling here.
Good timeout here and good call here from coach. I do believe this is the right call. It's the best option or best chance at a 3 here. If they can make this shot, 3 is definitely still in the possibility here, barring a double from Team Hlushak.
Does look like a fair amount of weight out of hand. I think they are playing this one down to try and get tapped to the back rock. Running quite straight with the weight he added. They gave that one. Just gonna try and paper that.
Just
Too much weight.
weight.
Gonna lose the shooter.
I was probably a little bit closer to hack there. For Team Hiebert, just a little too much weight. Team Hlushak could either chase that one in the house or rip the corner. There's a possibility they could try and get both, but there's also a potential they could jam that yellow on either the other yellow or the back red.
I think I'd be throwing at the corner. Although no, I like this call. Just there's no because you can play the in out here and not worry about jamming it, and the corner just afterwards. Because right now you want to make sure that you just get rid of yellows. This is, I think, the safest yellow to get rid of. Well managed shot, gets rid of yellow and rolls just about out. Looks like he does spill that one just out. Still a jam possibility, but still very well thrown there.
Team Hiebert can still sink one underneath this yellow, and if you do...
They do have to make all their rocks count now.
You could also potentially freeze to that one top four. Force Team Hlushak to play with it and potentially remove their yellow. Or their red, pardon me. However, with that, then they would be able to remove that yellow on their next shot.
Do you think that the freeze here is a play or the draw around?
I do think throwing the draw around is the play. If you leave it a little bit open, that's not bad either, because that definitely
Jam
brings
comes into play.
You definitely don't want to be heavy, though, however.
Yes.
Because if you're heavy, then they can chase it, and that would be the game. So Team Hiebert has to be really precise with their next 3 shots here.
I would say Team here wants to be putting this behind the yellow just to bring the act, to let them play at that yellow, and just maybe you get lucky and they add a rock in the rings for you, just to give you one freebie. The other option would be the freeze, but I do think the come around here is the right play.
If they do come around here, Team Hlushak may be enticed to play the run. And if they do, there's a slim chance they could jam both and leave 2 yellows in the play. But I believe if Hiebert does choose to sink a yellow underneath their corner, I do believe that Hlushak would just go up and peel that top yellow.
If Hiebert makes this draw really well behind it, they had to be fully buried. That does put some pressure on to Hlushak, as it would set up a double guarded yellow, which they'd have to make a decision if they want to commit to now a steal or if they would try and make a run back one of their 2 shots.
This is actually a fairly smart call from Team Hiebert. I didn't even think of this one here. If they can put one here back 8, this could be still a pretty decent opportunity to the 3 here. This does look a little bit hot. just gotta stick around. And it does stick. I don't
Doesn't
believe
look like it's shot. A second shot.
Does stick though, so it still means there's still an opportunity here for Team Hiebert.
Still usable rock. Just need to make as many as all their last rocks usable.
What would you throw here for Team Hlushak?
If I could see any of that yellow, but I don't think I can, I would try chasing it. But I do think at this point I would just rip the top red.
I don't know if I would love that shot call. I honestly don't think following it down is that bad of a shot either. Because if you put a third one in, even if you had to come up light and just put a third rock in the house,
Sit 3, make him
sit
make a
three,
triple.
Hiebert has to remove 3 rocks with 2 stones, and you'd still get another opportunity to remove one of those stones.
Yes, yeah. Just got to run out of rocks though. That's why my thought is try and open it up. Although it would be a fairly long run back, even if he does make the rip on his first rock. So I do agree with the come around.
Even if you come up late, that's still a difficult shots here for Team Hiebert to bring that rock into play, because now they'd have to remove 3 rocks with two of their own rocks to count, as well as not have Hlushak remove 1 on their last one.
I imagine with Hiebert's next rock, they're going to have to address that rock top 4 foot. Otherwise, they're going to maybe play the thin double just because they need to make that. They need to make that back rock count.
You may be able to make a double here with this 1 top 4 and this rock that Peter may be throwing now if it's not put properly. However, it still could be very difficult for Team Hiebert to get their 3.
Still got to see if this rock's placed perfectly, it'll be a lot of pressure. Does look like it's running a little wider than they expected it to. Don't get the freeze, but still very good getting it back there.
Hiebert now has a tough spot here to try and get rid of these 3 reds and keep their stones in play.
I would say they have to throw probably that center top 4 rock into the winger, hope for a flash, and then chase on their last rock. Not sure they can make a triple here, and not sure they will be able to.
I do believe so, yeah. And if they're lucky, their last stone may be that angle run into that red.
Mm-hmm. That would
for
probably
their 3.
Because they do have to make this double now, I think. Yeah, I think they have to play this one right here. Anything else you see here?
I'm not seeing anything else.
Maybe that angle on the yellow.
You could throw the angle double on that yellow.
Just
Angle double just to right on the nose and kill the top 4 and back 8 rock and sit half buried under the yellow or
does
the
risk
red.
a jam there though.
There
and
is,
you
but
could definitely spill the top yellow out into the open anyways. So I think this is the call here. Hopefully you'd be hoping to sit underneath that corner if it spills back a little bit.
I think you do have to take some risk here at this point in the game where
Yeah,
you do need to bring these rocks into play.
With that ice, it does look like they're playing a little softer weight.
Just a
Just
little
overcalled
too
there.
thin there.
And that's
And
the
that's
game.
the game. And Team Hlushak
Congratulations to Team
will win
Hlushak
the
on the
U18
win.
Provincial Championships and represent Team Alberta 1 in Ontario in February. Congratulations also to Team Hiebert on earning the Team Alberta 2 spot.
And congratulations to Team de Skiffert on their win in the women's side, and as well to Team Whitbread on being the runner-ups. The nationals for U18s will be February 5th through 10th, and Alberta Junior Provincials will be March 5th through 10th, so you got those to look forward to. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and
good luck to all those teams, all 4 of these teams in Ontario, from February 5th to 10th, and we will see you guys again in March for Junior Provincials. it.